Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? It is Friday, September 11th, and this is your daily financial news. It is September 11th. It's been 19 years since that day that at least I will certainly never forget. I trust many of you won't either. I believe 9/11 is one of those days, if you were of age, to say you remember when, right? You remember where you were when you first heard about the tragedies that were occurring in New York. You know it. It was it's still a day after 19 years that raises emotions and thanks and remembrance of the people that went to bed on the 10th that were never home again, and all the folks on the airplanes. As someone who was traveling, right? I was traveling or going to be traveling on that day, and I had taken those flights from. I took that flight from New York to San Francisco before. I had been on that route or that plane number or whatever they call it. So, you know, what could have been, right? So, just remember, never forget. I also remember the firefighters and policemen running into a burning building. When we talk about, defund the police and those topics, which are really meant to tear into emotions, I think about 9/11 and what they did. So, it is 9/11, so I guess it requires some remembrance. But let's get on to the daily financial news. As money investing, the markets never sleep. So again, it's Friday, so let's remind you that I am going to do another hour of questions on Saturday at 8 o'clock. If you have any questions you want me to start it off with, please leave them, and we'll start there and then we'll go live. I like the live questions because it lets me go deeper and make sure that I'm not missing anything. What I want to also do is talk about is the NFL had its kickoff game yesterday. It's kind of weird seeing the stands not full, but maybe a little bit more normal things going on, and that was something to see. I didn't watch the game, but I did see that it happened. I saw an article from Goldman Sachs yesterday. Actually, we talked about it today, reporting that they're now expecting GDP up 35% for Q3, which is the street high. And, we've all been expecting a bounce after the horrible Q2. So let's, Q3 was going to be big, but wow, a 35% bounce would be pretty significant. Restoration Hardware did some more digging on that, kind of RH. I'm not sure if you can hear my dog whining, but he is whining. So let's go say hi to Jimbo. Sorry, this is what happens when you do these live. Hi, Jimbo. Why are you whining? Let's pick you up. Let's talk to everybody. I don't like it when you whine. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you do these things live. Back to RH. I did some more reading on RH, Restoration Hardware, because again, right, we are a real estate channel. Flipping and home improvement is a big deal. What I wanted to read is what they were thinking about for 2021. They didn't give guidance for the second half, which I was disappointed with. But in reading subsequent articles, they are seeing this home improvement demand going into at least the first half of 2021, which I agree with, and was nice to see validated there. Had some earnings yesterday we got to talk about. Peloton, right? One of the darlings from work from home. Blockbuster quarter, up 173%. It's students. They made 27 cents, which was their first quarterly profit. They were expected to make 10 cents, but they made 27. Beat top and bottom, blowout number. They released a cheaper treadmill and another bike, and they are, when you close all the gyms, or at least most of the gyms, and people need to work out from home, Peloton's a winner. Peloton wins because it's competitive. You can build camaraderie in a non location. So the other thing I read about is Peloton riders average 25 workouts a month, or 25 rides, they call it, rides. That's that's pretty impressive. That means once you get used to it, it becomes a habit, a good habit. So I was pretty impressed with that. My thought was, you get a Peloton bike, you use it a couple times, and then it's, a dust collector or a clothes hanger. So it was nice to see that it taking off like that. Oracle also beat, kind of one of the old techs. Oracle beat top and bottom. Growth is back, 93 cents a share, $4 billion, just crushing it. Hardware was up, right? Oracle's bought some hardware companies, not just a software company anymore. And then final one I noted was Dave and Buster's. Man, 85% below last year. They did successfully reopen 27 locations, but if you've been to a Dave and Buster's, it kind of needs crowds. You kind of touch everything. It kind of doesn't feel like the best place to go. And but again, I believe, yeah, it's just a tough go for any company that kind of inside, right, air conditioning, circling air, kind of all strikes against it. And then, yeah, all their video games and all that stuff that makes Dave and Buster the hangout spot. Not a place I'd be looking to go to, at least here in the short term, but there we go. News from New York. Their governor has allowed restaurants to open it will open with inside dining. 25% occupancy. That perhaps is, how do I say this? One of the stupidest ideas I have seen. The cost structure does not change, but you are cutting off the revenue. You're essentially saying anybody who's a mom and pop restaurant, unless you own the building, right, which is an outlier, maybe if you bought it in the 50s or whatever, but you're going to go out of business. You're actually going to lose money faster with 25% occupancy. New York and California, you are tackling this problem wrong. You are choking your economy, and you are going to pay the price. You are just flat out doing it wrong. And I don't want to hear any whining about, the economy and people leaving and tax bases. You governors did this. New York, California, and yeah, it's bad. I live in, bad. And just more proof, what's going to be happening is technology wins. Domino's Pizza, their orders, 75% of their orders are digital, online. And they expect to gain market share at the expense of mom and pop pizzerias. Domino's expects 51% of the local mom and pop pizzerias to be out of business by the end of the year. Fathom that. This is unacceptable. The big getting bigger, the K-shaped recovery, right? You got some winners and a whole bunch of losers. If anybody, New York and California as the greatest examples, you're doing this. You're making Domino's bigger, and you're killing mom and pop shops. Congratulations. We did get core CPI. I talked about that on the weekend being a big number for Friday. It was up 0.4% in August after being up 0.6% in July. The biggest number for me was it was actually used cars and trucks, which kind of makes sense. We talked about that, seemingly 4 months ago, as it became obvious that public transportation and all those touch points were less than ideal. I expected used cars and trucks to be up, and here we go. It was actually the largest component of the increase in core CPI for August was used cars and trucks. Then there was gasoline and some other things that went up. Very disappointed in the Congress. I guess I shouldn't be disappointed at this point. But Mitch, good old Mitch, you failed to get your skinny deal approved in the Senate. I don't know what to say, but that's some pretty weak ass leadership. You had 4 or 5 weeks where you could have went out and got 61 votes. You got 52. So guess what, Mitch? This is your problem now. You can't point at Nancy. You can't hold Nancy's feet to the fire. She had nothing to vote on. You failed, Mitch. You own that. You had a month, man. You guys were freaking on summer recess. What the hell were you doing? Disappointing. And then the last, I guess, two more things. First, I just got an article the other day that it looks like a record number of Americans could save mortgage payments by doing a refinance, given how low rates are today. What I would tell you, and I would remind you, never create an alligator. If you read our story in our book, One Rental at a Time, you know I made that stupid mistake with the first property we bought. After about 2 or 3 years of ownership, I did a cash out refi. The bank asked how much. I said, how much can I have? And I never did the math. Don't do that. There's nothing wrong with a rate and term refi. I am actually doing rate and term refis right now on 2 commercial buildings. I could certainly take cash out, but that's not what I want. I'm always talking about cash flow. So I am going to be, it's probably going to save me somewhere between $1,200 and $1,400 a month. And if you see my goals that we talk about every Sunday, that's going to be basically my goal for the next 13 weeks. Is I'm going to do some rate and term refis, and I'm going to save cash, i.e., increase my family's cash flow to keep paying for our daily expenses. So if you're going to do a refi, go for it. Make sure it makes sense. Rate and term is okay. If you're still growing and you take cash out because cash flow is there, make sure you only buy additional properties. Don't buy toys. Toys are bad when you're growing. Don't kill momentum. And then lastly, let's not forget TikTok's deadline, September 15th, right? It's like 4 days away. What's that, like 12th, 13th? That's like Tuesday. Man, there's about to be a lot of upset people who are just watching TikTok all day. I really haven't heard who's in the running, right? Microsoft, Oracle, Walmart. 4 days. 4 days. We shall see. So at the end of the day, I actually have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interviews today. Two of them on my channel. I'm actually being interviewed on 3 other channels this morning. One of them on Bigger Pockets at 8 o'clock Pacific with my friend Steve Rosenberg. That should be fun. So today's going to be a lot of talking for me. And again, remember, Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific, we will do another live Q&A show. If you have a question you want to start with, go ahead and list them below. Take care, everyone. Have fun. Bye.